2020 has been uncomfortable. My next guest is somewhat of an expert at making adventure and a living out of uncomfortable moments. You might see her exploring by horseback or reindeer or doing donuts in the snow in the Ukraine, because that's a normal Tuesday afternoon. She's a freelance travel writer and photographer who splits her time between Tbilisi, Georgia, and Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. And how many extra points do I get for saying those things right? I just gonna pat myself on the back right now. But today is story time, and I know you guys love story time. You love a good story, and especially ones that let us mind travel. She's going to share stories about thriving in uncomfortable moments, and hopefully we can all glean some inspiration from it, and probably a few laughs. Travel badass, motorhead, delightfully sarcastic, Breanna Wilson.
Yay! Hello.
So can we start, how did you end up in, I hate to say you're stuck in Georgia because as you've said, it's a lovely country, but how did that happen?
There are definitely worse places to be stuck right now. I was living in Mongolia, and I had a chance to go to Iran and Iraqi Kurdistan. So of course I jumped at that opportunity. So I left Mongolia as all of this coronavirus stuff started happening, and I kind of wasn't sure what was gonna happen. There weren't many borders closed, airlines were still running. So I flew to Turkey, and as I landed, I learned that Mongolia closed their borders, so I couldn't turn back at that point. And also I learned that Iran and Iraqi Kurdistan both closed their borders as well. So I had to pivot. I had to figure out where to go, what to do. And staying in Turkey didn't really seem like the best option. They weren't testing. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was my place. So I had been coming to Georgia for about 2 years by that point. And I knew that if I came here, I had friends, I had connections. I kind of knew the city. I knew if something happened, I could maybe figure it out from here. So I came here and I've been here ever since.
And do you speak Georgian?
I speak a little bit. I'm actually learning because I feel like obviously being here, I want to know what people are saying. And it's not that I want to speak it, but I want to know when someone's talking about me. And I feel like it's always good to know that when you live somewhere. So yes, I'm working on it. But if you ask any Georgian, my Georgian is horrible.
I would need to Google it. I don't think I've ever heard it. So you could speak it to me and I'd be like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing.
Well, wait until you see the alphabet. It's totally different. It's unlike any other alphabet in the entire world, but it's beautiful. I love it so much.
That's so cool. So that's one example of thriving in an uncomfortable moment, is like you had to make that choice right away. And do you still even have stuff in Mongolia?
Yeah, half of my camera equipment, my drone, I mean, my suitcase, everything's there. So I came here with all of these clothes to wear in a Muslim country.
Oh my gosh.
I was not very prepared to live in a city and like have a normal everyday life. So I've been shipping stuff here every week, box by box.
Little by little, setting up shop.
So I kind of have a normal life here now, but yeah, it's taken a few months.
You've done a lot of traveling though, a lot. Is this the most uncomfortable moment that you've had? Or if it's not, what was?
This is a different kind of uncertain for me. So I like uncertain. I like the thrill of not knowing what's going to happen. But at that time, I usually still have some sort of control. And at this point, I don't have any control. And I'm still kind of just waiting for people to announce things, and I'm in limbo a bit. So that part is getting it's just a new way for me to navigate things. But you know, I'm making the best of it, I think, and I'm using this time to kind of explore the country and do things that I've probably would never have the chance to do otherwise. So
that's true. You probably wouldn't stay because you move around a lot. You don't usually stay in one spot for very long.
Yeah, so Mongolia is usually the longest place that I would stay, and that would be usually during the summer, and then in the winter I'd leave for a couple months and be in a new country every week or every few days. So yeah, this is kind of the most I hate to say it's stable, but like stagnant that I've been. So I bought a car here, which was a whole other experience. And
That's so funny.
yeah,
And you brought up a good point about certainty versus uncertainty, because everyone has a different threshold. You have to have enough uncertainty to not be bored and depressed, and enough certainty to not be anxious and feel unstable. So, do you know kind of what your threshold is? I know it's not really like a numerical question, like on a scale of 1 to 10, but are you aware of what your threshold is?
I'm starting to learn. I mean, I thought I knew that I could handle anything thrown my way. And, Mongolia is kind of like the minute you try to control something goes totally wrong and you're, thrown off your motorcycle or this and that. So I thought I knew how to handle this stuff, but this is just something totally different. So my threshold is definitely shifting also, because now it's learning patience for different things versus other things, and learning who I am and what I want most and what I don't want. And yeah, actually having to sit and face that stuff, because now I have the time to do it and I'm not just running around from place to place. And so yeah, I'm learning, I think, a lot.
Can you think of some examples of either while in Georgia or in other travels where the uncertainty made you thrive, either by personal growth or through just something super badass that happened because of it?
Well, the first time I actually went to Mongolia, I got connected to this guy, my friend, she's in New York. She said, I met this guy. You need to follow him on Instagram and just see what he does. So I follow him on Instagram, and his first picture is him holding an eagle riding a horse. And I'm like, okay, this dude's fucking cool. So I send him a message. I'm like, yo, I want to come to Mongolia and do this. Like, this is insane. So he's like, well, actually, I'm going back in a month. Let's jump on a call. Okay. So we get on a call and he's like, how good are you on a horse? In my mind, I'm going, I've been on a horse when I was like 12. I took lessons, It's been like 20 years since I've done it, but it's like riding a bike. So I was like, I'll be fine. Like, I can handle it.
You're like, I went to the fair. I went to the fair once. There was a horse.
I was like,
there.
I rode a pony one time.
Same, yeah.
So I was like, they don't scare me. So he's like, okay, that's all I wanted to know. And so he's like, okay, I have this trip. So fast forward, I go to Mongolia. I'm on this trip with like 10 other professional horse racers. They all have ridden in this race that is held in Mongolia. It's called the Mongol Derby. And they do this for fun. They get on these horses and ride 1,000 kilometers over 10 days, like with like 5 pounds of pack. And I mean, they like are insane people. They are badasses. So I'm in this group with all of these people who can, like gallop and, ride horses for days and hours and find the most joy in it. And I'm like, oh my God, like I grossly overestimated my riding skills on this. But they were all very nice and patient. And I mean, I was wearing like my snowboarding helmet, like these brand new chaps that I put on the wrong way the first day. They were like all looking at me like, who is this girl? Like, why is she in this scenario? And it ended up all working out. So you basically ride horses for 2 days to get to the Tatton Tribe, the tribe that rides reindeer. But, the terrain's really boggy, so you don't really go that fast. And, they were all very patient. Eric made sure I always had a very nice horse, which isn't always the easiest because the horses there are semi-wild.
Oh.
So they don't put them in fences. They let them run free. So
wait, so you went from like lessons when you were 12 to riding a semi-wild horse on the boggy plains of Mongolia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For 2 days.
Wow. Yeah, that's uncomfortable for sure.
Yeah. Physically, mentally, I mean, it was at the time the most challenging thing I had ever done. And it was also the thing that changed my entire life and the way that I looked at taking on things that I didn't know anything about. And I mean, I was so humbled by it. And so just, I realized what I can actually do when I do push myself to do something that seems so scary and so, out of my everyday normal life, which is already sort of crazy to begin with. But to do that was also, it just showed me that anything I think I can do or I want to do, if I just put my mind to it, can do it. And I think anyone can do that.
So you made it, obviously. You didn't die.
I survived.
Congratulations. Yes. And then you got to interact with were they hawks?
So that trip was to the Tatton Tribe, and that's the tribe that rides reindeer. So
the reindeer.
In my mind, I'm on this horse going, okay, once I get there, I just have to stay on this horse long enough to get to the reindeer. And then you get to the reindeer, and then you stay with this family for 5 days, 7 days, and you learn how to herd their reindeer. You ride them to go pick juniper or to go get logs out of the forest, or just go to the neighbor's house to have yak yogurt. And it's like, so that's what we spent 5 days doing. So for me, it was the most rewarding just experience in general, having pushed myself to do that. And then to have that as my kind of just eye-opening experience. Cause they live so far away from anything that there's no electricity. There's only 44 families left, but they live in like little groups so that the herds have enough space and everything else. And to see this totally different way of life that was cold and wet, and you can't shower. There's a freezing cold river, and that's where you like wash your hair if you need to. I mean, you don't even wash your hair at that point because it doesn't even matter. But yeah, you just live like that for 5 days with them, and they adopt you like family. And by the end of it, you're just you just see things completely different.
Like how?
I mean, these people are so generous. And it's not that they don't have anything, but they're nomadic. So for them to have unessential things, it just doesn't make sense because they move every 3 to 4 weeks or season, or it depends on where they are or who they are, but they give you everything. They offer you the shirt off their back. They'll give you a dell, which is like the Mongolian robe that they wear. They'll offer you whatever food they have. If you need a place to sleep anywhere in Mongolia, you can go up to any ger, any teepee, anyone, and knock on the door and say, I'm lost, or I just need a place to sleep. And anyone will let you in. They'll give you the bed. They'll give you something to eat. I mean, they still leave their gears unlocked and food on like the table just in case another herder comes by. I mean, it's just this place where everyone takes care of everyone else, and it's just so far from everything that I've experienced growing up, or even being a woman traveling, when people tell me, it's so unsafe, be careful, and this and that. And it's not that it's completely safe there either, but it just changes every perception of everything you thought you knew and what people tell you all the time.
I mean, that would like renew your hope in humanity almost,
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that they're the most genuine, special people. And they're so funny because they laugh and smile, and then you go to take a photo of them and they turn all like warrior, straight faced, stand up, like so proud, and just they're just such fascinating, amazing, incredible people.
Oh my gosh, I want to go there now.
Please come. Everyone, come to Mongolia.
Come to Mongolia. So like when people who have regular jobs, well, regular in air quotes, I guess, and they look at somebody like you and they're like, well, of course she did that. Like, I think that the outside looking in, it's easy to not recognize that you do have a threshold of certain versus uncertain, and just go, yeah, well, of course she's down to do that. Of course she sought that out. So maybe this is more of a question that applies to your earlier days of reaching purposefully outside of what was comfortable, but like what goes on in your head? Like what kind of talk are you having inside of your head? What kind of self-talk that makes you go, yeah, this is a good idea. It's okay. The horse is wild. I'm still going to do this.
And I would just like to say that I do fail and I falter and I don't do a lot of things very gracefully in these situations because I'm learning and, just trying to usually wrap my head around what I am actually doing and what I did actually sign up for. But I mean, at this point in my life, if I have a chance to do something that I would never have a chance to do otherwise, or that I may never have the chance to do ever again, I'm going to do it. And there are scenarios that I don't participate in. I won't do something. I mean, I'm a girl who does a lot of very sporty activities, or, riding a motorcycle, something like that. I'll never do something with a group of people that I feel uncomfortable with as well. So if it's a group of men who want to go ride motorcycles, I may not do that just because I feel a lot of pressure unnecessarily, just with myself to keep up with them, or, that they look at me and they push me too hard. So I have to feel out the group and I have to feel out the scenario. So I don't always say yes. I actually don't. It takes a lot for me to get to that point because I'm normally down to try just about anything and everything. But yeah, I trust a lot in the people that I'm doing it with and where I'm doing this certain activity at. And if I feel that it's unnatural to the locals, or it's something that wouldn't be beneficial for the people that live there, then I wouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't do anything inauthentic or just so that they can make money.
Yeah, exploitive.
Yeah. So I steer very far away from those things.
So if someone was trying to thrive in an uncomfortable moment, then seek out a moment that would have a good payoff, because I think we're all, as I mentioned in the intro, uncomfortable right now and just trying to survive. Thriving might even be like a lofty goal, but I think when you look at whatever your situation is, whatever a person listening to this, whatever their situation is, and then you look at a moment, a story that it did end up not just okay, but it ended up really special, and it deepened your gratitude, as you said, or it made you fall in love with a group of people that you would have never have met, then sometimes that gives us the hope and the strength to go, you know what, it's all right. It'll be okay. And maybe there's something cool that I can uncover throughout this.
Yeah. And everyone's level of uncomfortable is different. And I didn't start out like this. I mean, I was deathly afraid to fly. I was afraid of sharks. And I just woke up one day and said, I don't want to live life being afraid. And, I don't like that this has this mental control over me. So I just started doing things until I wasn't afraid. And the same with motorcycles. I mean, I've had friends die, and I've known people who have lost limbs, and yeah, you obviously hear how dangerous they are, but I didn't want to live life in fear of anything. And I still feel that way. If there's something that does completely scare me, I will just jump into it head on. And, I think that people need to just take baby steps. Just whatever makes you uncomfortable now, figure out how you deal with it. Maybe you don't deal with it the same way I do. That's okay too. But just take baby steps, and you'll be surprised what you can do and what you kind of get used to, and your threshold will start to get more and more, and it feels good.
It does. And you learn things. What have you learned through your uncomfortable moments? Maybe some of your top things. I know it's a lot, I'm sure.
Oh man. I am not particularly good at anything. That's what I've learned.
What?
I like to do everything, but I'm shit at most of it. But I don't care. As long as you are having fun with it, that's all that matters. I mean, I am the worst climber, but if someone invites me to go rock climbing, I'll go, and I'll tell them straight up, like, I'm terrible at this, just so you know, but I want to go. And usually when you say that and you're open to it, people are open to you. So
So
yeah,
lower your expectations. Having low expectations is helpful when trying new things. I'm taking mental notes here.
Yeah. I just laugh about it. And just as long as you have fun, it doesn't matter. So don't be afraid to try things either. I think I think people get, especially in the outdoor and adventure industry, they see these people who climb these crazy mountains and, snowboard from a helicopter, and and they think, oh, I can't, like, that's insane. I could never do that. And then they get afraid of even trying or even, thinking about it. So I think people get too wrapped up in that. I think that everyone just needs to kind of dip their toes in the water and find out what they do like. And
yeah, those aren't the things.
Afraid.
Yeah, not be afraid. Those aren't the things that I'm afraid of, oddly enough. Like when I think about uncomfortable moments that I would never thrive in, it's like being trapped in one of those escape rooms. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. With a bunch of extroverts.
Okay.
Who are old, creepy dudes who eat cereal loudly while having Kids Bop radio blasting over the loudspeaker. That's my hell loop.
Yeah, that's torture. That is, I think that might be a lot of people's hell loop.
Yeah, that's true. No one's like, ooh, yeah, sign me up for that. Do you have something that's like you absolutely have no interest in it? Maybe it's not as extreme as mine, but something that you would never do.
Oh man. You know what really I don't think I could ever do is a big cruise ship. That I think is my hell. And especially after all of this coronavirus stuff where the ships just get stuck and the people were on them for, I don't even know how long. Like that would be, I would just jump overboard.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it. But I mean, I love boats and I love the water. It's just that many people in one spot. That's not for me.
Not for you. Not an adventure you'll be taking anytime soon.
I like to be alone with nothing but nature and the wild and whatever wild animal might come my way.
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you. As we wrap up, can you think of any other like top stories of travel where it got uncomfortable or unexpected that you want to share?
One does come to mind. So the reason I did get certified as a scuba diver is because I was afraid of sharks in the ocean. And I've since been diving for about 5 years now, and I've seen plenty of sharks, and I actually like sharks now. Now I get very excited when there's the potential to see one. But I was in Fiji at the end of last year, and I wanted to go out and learn how to spearfish. So I was with this guy who's this like award-winning spearfisher. He's incredible. And so we're out there, and I'm just kind of bobbing in the water, like I have this gun, but I don't really know how to shoot it. I don't really. And he's just like free diving and showing me how he does it. And we start to chum the water a little bit just because he's getting some catches, and we hang him on the line. And at a certain point, Fiji is very, very. There are a lot of sharks there, so I'm like bobbing at the top, and then I look down, and this one like 8-foot long like black tip shark is coming straight at me. I mean, I held up the spear gun like, oh my God. And then I turn around and he's going towards all of the fish that we caught that were like on this buoy. And I feel everything starting to go up and down. And Jake at that point looks at me, he goes, get in the boat.
Oh my God.
So as soon as he said that, I was like, yep, oh, got it. So I went from being totally afraid of sharks to then being in the water with one coming straight at me to then being told to get into the boat, because even he thought that it was a very aggressive situation. So
wow, like he thought it was maybe going to cause a frenzy or something.
Yeah, because by that time he had gathered some friends. The shark friends were all there, so it was starting to become a little chaotic. And yeah, and I was just bobbing at the top like a seal, so I was ready to get up at that point. Yeah, okay, I've had my fill, I'm good. But yeah, but it was still an insanely cool experience, and I will one day actually learn how to spearfish, but I have to get back to an ocean for that.
Correct. Yeah. Step 1, return to the ocean.
Yeah, get out of these landlocked countries and then, move on to that. So,
do you have any advice to people that are wanting to thrive in an uncomfortable moment? Maybe they're past, they've got the survival, they're, the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's, right? Yeah. Their safety and security is covered, and they're just wanting to thrive a little bit more. in, a pandemic, which it sounds weird, but you can't just sitting around waiting for it to blow over. Clearly not working for anybody. So what would you say either has worked for you or advice you would give to somebody else that's where they're at mentally?
I would say now is the time to kind of really deep dive into what you want out of life and figuring out the steps to get there. Now is the chance where everything is slowed down and stopped. And I've actually taken this chance to kind of reevaluate, like, do I really want to travel every week, or do I like being a little bit more stable and getting to really know a place? So I've decided I want to be a little bit more stable. And once you decide on that, say no to anything else that doesn't get you to that point. We get so distracted by everything. Our world is built to distract us. The, shiny social media and, the lights and the everything else. Just laser focus yourself on what you want and just say no to anything else that isn't that.
That's good advice. And you have done that also for yourself because you ended up learning code and made a website. So to quickly tell everyone where they can follow you and your adventures, but also when borders do open up, come take a visit.
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram at Breanna J. Wilson. And I'm launching 2 travel platforms. I'm calling meanwhileingeorgia.com and meanwhileinmongolia.com. And I'm launching a motorcycle tour in Mongolia in 2021, either this spring or fall. So come ride vintage Ural motorcycles with me.
Oh my gosh, I want to do that.
And live with nomadic herders. We herd in cows and sheep and goats and play on bikes and sand dunes. Oh, I can't wait to go back. So
I love it.
Everyone is a welcome. Please come.
And speak Georgian poorly. Woo!
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so glad that I met you. I'm so glad that we got to have this talk. And I seriously want to come visit. I'm just so intrigued by that corner of the world. There's so much that I don't know. And that's what just spurs my curiosity on. So thank you, my friend. That is a wrap. Woo!